everyone, and welcome to MathSux. This video is going to help you pass Algebra 2 Common Core Regents. We're doing this one question at a time. Here is question 1. The exact value of sine of 8 pi over 3 is what? So we can actually plug this into the calculator. So before we just plug it in, let's first convert this radian measure into degrees. So we have 8 pi over 3 times 180 over pi. So if we do that, 8 times 180 divided by 3. So this is going to be equal to 480 degrees. So now we can plug this into our calculator because our calculator is in degree mode. So we have sine of 480 degrees. So let's plug that in. Sine of 480 degrees. So based on this answer, we could see that choices 1 and 2 are automatically going to be wrong, right? Because this decimal is not equal to a half. So we know we can mark those out. And then another thing we can easily mark off is that this negative radical 3 over 2, because this is negative, and if our answer given here is positive. So we know choice 4 by process of elimination is going to be our answer. And we can check ourselves by doing radical 3 divided by 2, which gives us sine of 480 degrees. So we know we're correct and choice 4 is our answer. Question number 2. A teacher randomly divides all of her students into 2 groups. She grades the homework for one group but does not grade the homework for the other group. All homework is returned to the student. She then compares test scores for each of the groups to see if grading homework has an effect on these test scores. This method of data collection is best described as what? So if we look at our choices, we have an experiment, an unbiased survey, a simulation, or an observational study. So based on what's given here, I would say that this is an experiment, choice number 1. Because that sounds like what she's doing, right? She's experimenting with the grades and the homework. She's grading the homework for one group but not for the other group, and she's seeing if this affects test scores. And she's not surveying the students in any way. She's not simulating anything. She's not doing a bunch of different tests. And she's also not doing an observational study. So that would be if she just observed something happening without getting involved. So choice number 1 is our answer. Question number 3. Which expression is equivalent to x minus 2 squared plus 27 times x minus 2 minus 90? So here, we're just going to want to expand this out a little bit. So I'm going to bring this down and expand x minus 2. So if x minus 2 times x minus 2 plus, and then here we can distribute this 27. So we'll get 27x minus 27 times minus 2 will give us minus 54 and then minus 90, right? Okay, so now we can do a little distribution over here and FOIL this. We'll get x squared minus 4x plus 4, and then we still have that plus 27x, and then negative 54 minus 90 is minus 144. So now we can still combine like terms here. So let's keep going. We have this minus 4x and this 27x. Well, first let's bring that x squared down. And then we have negative 4 plus 27 plus 23x. And then we have these whole numbers for minus 144, minus 140. So if you look at our answer choices, we know we're going to be factoring this. So let's see if we can do the product sum here. So 140, it's going to have to multiply to negative 140 and add to 23. So you know we're going to be dealing with a positive and negative number. So let's just play around in our calculator for a bit. And notice 140 divided by 5 is 28. And if we did negative 5 plus 28, it would give us 23. So those are going to be our numbers, negative 5 and 28. So we'll have x minus 5 times x plus 28. They just need to leave it like this. So x minus 5 times x plus 28 is our answer, choice number 2. Question number 4. Given the function f of x is equal to 2x plus 5 over 2 and g of x is equal to 3 over x, what are the solutions to find f of x of g of x? So we can do this algebraically and it would take a while, or since this is a multiple choice, we could just plug this into our calculator into the y equals section. So for f of x, we're plugging in 2x plus 5 divided by 2, and g of x is 3 divided by x. And we get a picture that looks something like this. So notice we're going to have two solutions, one over here and one over here. So let's find this one on the right. Enter. So this point right here is 0.754. Okay, so we got one answer. Now let's do this again. Second calc, go down to intersect. Enter, enter. And then this point is -2, -1.5. So we have 0.75, 4 and -2, -1.5. The answer to this is a little tricky because you might think that this is going to be the right answer, the coordinates we just found. But when we're looking for the solutions where f of x equals g of x, you're usually solving for x. And if you did this the algebraic way, that would be more obvious. So when you set these two equations equal to each other, you're solving for x. So we just want to focus on the x values here, which is going to be -2 and 0.75, which is choice number 2. Question number 5. Given f of x is equal to 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 5x minus 12, and g of x is x minus 3, the quotient of f of x divided by g of x is what? So here we could use synthetic division, which is always a nice, easy way to go. So we have our number that we got from over here, 3 minus 3 is 0, so we know x is going to be 3, this outside number here. And then we're just going to take the coefficients and make sure the exponents of these variables are in descending order. So we have 3, 2, and then 1. So we know we're just going to write out the coefficients as they are, 2, minus 3, minus 5, and then minus 12. And now we can do our synthetic division. So bring the 2 down, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 plus minus 3 is 3, and then just keep that pattern going. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 plus minus 5 is 4, and then 4 times 3 is 12, and you can see this is going to give us a remainder of 0. So when we write out our answer here, this is going to be 2x squared plus 3x plus 4, and this is choice number 1. I have a bunch of practice questions on synthetic division if you want to practice this, so please check that out. Question number 6. Abby is told that each day there is a 50% chance it will rain. Which simulation can Abby perform to determine the likelihood of it raining for the next 7 days? So we're doing a simulation about the next 7 days. So let's look at each of these. Choice number 1, flip a coin 7 times, count how many heads, and repeat 50 times. So that sounds like a good idea because this is representing 50% is flipping a coin, right? Because we can either get heads or tails, where the probability is a half or 50%. And then we're doing this 7 times to represent 7 days, and then we're repeating it 50 times, repeating this test 50 times and simulating the chance it'll rain 50 times over 7 days. So I'm leaning towards that this is going to be the answer. Now let's look at the other answer choices and see if they make sense. Roll a die 7 times, count how many 2s, and repeat 50 times. So here this time the probability for a die, that would be 1 out of 6. So that would not be 50%. So that's not our answer. A pair of die, so that's even more than out of 6. That would be 1 out of 12. So that's not our answer. Flip a coin 50 times and count how many heads. So here we're flipping a coin 50 times. So that sounds partially right because the probability is a half and we're doing it 50 times, but it's not encompassing that 7 days because we're looking specifically to determine the likelihood of it raining over the next 7 days. So that's not our answer. So choice number 1 makes the most sense here for running a simulation for the next 7 days where the probability is 50% or 1/2. Question number 7. What is the solution to 4x squared minus 7x minus 2 equals negative 10? So I'm going to do this on the side. And if you take a peek at the answer choices, notice there are some imaginary number choices. So knowing that, I'm going to start to think of the quadratic formula, x equals. Well, let's bring this 10 over first. 4x squared minus 7x, and then we're going to add this 10, which will give us plus 8 equals 0. And then we're going to want to fill this formula in where a is equal to 4, b is minus 7, and c is 8. And now we're just using this formula. So when doing quadratic formula, I always like to start with what's under the radical first. So let's do that. 49 minus 4 times 4 times 8. And we do get a negative under the radical. So we have 7 plus or minus radical negative 79 all over 8. Take out and make it an imaginary number. So we have 7/8 plus or minus radical 79i. So we're getting rid of that negative and making it an I. And then this is over 8. So I just distributed this 8 7/8 plus or minus radical 79i, taking out the negative, and then put that over 8 also. And this is our answer, which you can see is choice number 2. Question number 8. If x minus 5 is a factor of p of x, and p of x is equal to ax to the fourth plus b of x to the third plus cx squared plus dx plus e, then which statement must be true? So in this case, we're going to be thinking of the remainder theorem that states that this would state that p of 5 is equal to 0. So if x minus 5 is a factor, then p of 5 is 0. And this is just based on the remainder theorem. Question number 9. In a small city, there are 22 gas stations. The mean price for a gallon of regular gas was $2.12 with a standard deviation of 5 cents. The distribution of the data was approximately normal. Given this information, the middle 95% of the gas stations in this small city likely charge what? So here we're going to be finding the 95% confidence interval. And all the information you need was given to us, the mu and the standard deviation. The mu is the mean. So they said the mu over here, the mean is $2.12, and the standard deviation is 5 cents. And now we're just going to use the 95% confidence interval formula, which is mu plus or minus 2 times the standard deviation. So if we plug this in, we have 2.12 plus or minus 2 times the standard deviation, which is 5 cents. And this represents a range. So we have 212 minus 2 times. So this is the bottom of our range, $2.02. And then we're just going to plug in the same thing, 2.12, but this time we're adding 2 times 0.05, which gives us $2.22. Which you can see is choice number 3. Question number 10. The expression 4x squared minus 5 over x squared minus 1 is equivalent to what? So here we're going to be dividing. So we have 4x squared minus 5, and we can't do synthetic division this time. And then on the outside, we're going to have x squared minus 1. And we just had to ask ourselves, how many times can x squared minus 1 go into 4x squared minus 5? So it looks like 4 times, right? 4 times x squared is 4x squared. 4 times minus 1 is minus 4. Subtract these two, and we're going to end up with minus 5 minus negative 4, which will give us a minus 5 plus 4, which is minus 1. So we end up with this remainder here. So we have 4 minus 1 over the thing we were originally dividing by, which is x squared minus 1. So this is our answer, which is choice number 1. Question number 11. For all positive values of x, which expression is equivalent to radical x times the quad root of x to the 11th? So let's write this out. So let's rewrite these. This is x to the 1/2 times x to the 11 over 4. So when we're dealing with these, we can just add our exponents together. So this is going to be equal to, since we have the same base, x and x, we could just do 1/2 plus 11 over 4. So we have to get this fraction so we can add these two together. So we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. When we do that, we'll have 2 fourths plus 11 over fourths. And now we can add these two together. 2 plus 11 will give us 13 over 4, which is choice number 3, x raised to the 13 over 4. Question number 12. The expression I squared times 5x minus 2i squared is equivalent to what? So here we're going to expand this and deal with these i's. So I squared times 5x minus 2i, and I'm going to expand it right now, times 5x minus 2i. So right away, this I squared, this can become -1. And then here we're going to be distributing. So 5x times 5x gives us 25x squared. 5x times minus 2i gives us minus 10xi. So let's focus on inside the parentheses first. This has 25x squared minus 20xi. And then this I squared becomes -1. So this is going to be minus 4. And then don't forget about this -1 from the I squared that we started with. So that we're just going to need to distribute this. Eventually this will become -25x squared plus 20xi plus 4, which looks like this will be choice number 2. And that's our answer. Question 13. Functions f and g are given below. So we have f of x is equal to this, 7/2 x squared minus 5x plus 11, and then g of x is equal to 3x squared minus 7x plus 25. And it says when 2 of f of x is subtracted from g of x, the result is what? So let's first focus on this 2 f of x. So if we're multiplying 2 times the entire function of f of x, it's going to look something like this. 2 times 7. And then we just need to distribute that. So this is going to become (7x squared minus 10x plus 22). So if we go back, it says this value, 2 of f of x, is subtracted from g of x. So if we take g of x and we're subtracting what we just found, we're just going to do this, right? So this is our new f of x, and we're subtracting it from g of x. And now we're just doing 3 minus 7, just computing this as normal. So we'll get -4x squared, -7 minus -10, which is like -7 plus 10 will give us plus positive 3x, and then we have plus 3. So we get -4x squared plus 3x plus 3, which is choice number 2. Question 14. A manufacturer claims that the number of ounces of a beverage dispensed by one of its automatic dispensers is normally distributed with a mean of 8 ounces and a standard deviation of 0.04 ounces. To the nearest tenth of a percent, what percent of the cups filled by this company dispenser will contain between 7.9 and 8.11 ounces? So if we have something that's normally distributed with the mean of 8 ounces and the standard deviation of 0.04, so that means like this is going to go up by 0.04 this way it's going to go down 0.04. And they want to know the value between 7.9 and 8.11. So let's say up here. They want to know this value. So to do that, we can actually just use the calculator, knowing that the lower bound they're looking for is 7.9. The upper bound is 8.11. The mean is 8, and the standard deviation is 0.04. We're going to go to second bars, go to normal CDF number 2, and then we're just going to fill this in. I happen to already have it there, right? We have the lower 7.9, upper 8.11, mu is 8 and 0.04. And we enter, and we get this number here, 0.9908, and we want to multiply that times 100 to get the percent, right? They want it to the nearest tenth of a percent. At the nearest tenth of a percent, we're just going to round this up to 99.1%, which is choice number 3. Question 15. What is the value of x in the solution of the system's equations below? So we can do this a long way, but since this is a multiple choice, I'm going to choose to do this on the calculator. Let's go to apps. We're going to go down to number 9. It might be different on your calculator. It says PLY SMLT2, like for simultaneous equations. Now we're going to go down to equation solver, which choice number 2. And then here we can pick how many equations and how many unknowns we have. So we have 3 equations and 3 unknowns. And to hit the next button, we're just going to go to graph. And now be careful when plugging this in. So we're plugging in this matrix here. Remember, we want to keep the same order for our variables, this x, y, z order. So if you look at this first equation, we know we have 5, 2, -1, and then on the equal sign we have -14. And then for our next line, notice there's no value for x, so we're going to put a 0. We have a coefficient of 7 for y, and then for z, -1. And then to the right of that equal sign, we have 31. And then the last one, be careful here, this is out of order. So the x is over here, so we know this is going to be -5 over here. Y is 5, and then z is 4, and then you have -23 on the right. So that's what we want to plug into our calculator, and just make sure that's what we have. 5, 2, -1, -14, 0, 7, -1, 31, -5, 5, 4, and -23. So now we're going to hit the graph button for solve again. Down here it has all these different buttons. So we go to solve, and then we have our solution. So this x1, y, x2, x3 gives us our solution. So we know that x is equal to -7, y is equal to 2, and z is equal to -17. And if you look at what they were asking, they wanted the value of x, which we can see is -7, choice number 4. Question 16. The graph below shows the amount of radioactive substance left over time. The daily rate of decay over an 8-day interval is approximately what? So we're going to want to find the percent change between days. So down here represents the number of days, right? There's 8 days, but we're just going to pick a pair of 2 points from one day to the next, and then look at the percent change. So if you look at this, we're counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So this value is 40. So from over one day, the amount of substance goes from 50 to 40. And the way to find the percent change of that is we're always going to do the original value, which was 50, the first value, then subtract the new value, 40, and then divide by that original amount, 50, times 100. And this will give us the percent change per day. So 50 minus 40 is 10, and then divided by 50 is 0.2 times 100. So this is equal to 20%. So there's not an exact 20% here, but choice number 1 is very close with 23%, and that's what's going to be our answer. So just to write out like the formula here, we did the original minus the new value over the original value times 100. Question 17. If 4 times 10 raised to the 5x minus 2 is equal to 12, then x equals what? And if you take a look at the answer choices here, you know we're going to be using logs. So let me write out this again. 4 times 10 to the 5x minus 2 is equal to 12. And the first thing we can do here is just divide 4 on both sides. And now we could start doing logs, right? So the log rules, we can take down this exponent, 5x minus 2. Log of 10 is equal to log of 3. And then this right here, log of 10 is equal to 1. And if you forget something like that, and you can always double check it in your calculator, log of 10 is equal to 1. So that means we could kind of cross this out. And we're only left with 5x minus 2 is equal to log of 3. So now we could see what's coming next. We're going to add 2 on both sides. So we're left with x is equal to log of 3 plus 2 all over 5, which is choice number 3. Question 18. A random sample of 150 students was surveyed on a particular day about how they got to school. The survey results are summarized in the table below. Which statement is best supported by the data? So let's look at each of these and see what makes sense. The probability of being late given that a student walked. So let's write this out. Probability of being late given that the student walked is greater than the probability that a student walked given that they were late. Probability that they walked given that they were late. So let's see if this is true. And it looks like if you take a peek at the other answer choices, it looks like probabilities being less than or equal to. So finding this information will give us our answer. So let's first look at the probability that a student is late given that they walked. So if we look at given that they walked, so let's look at the pool of students who walked. So all the kids who walked, this is the total, 18 plus 4, which is 22. So this is just total walking. And now out of all of those, who are late? So that would be 4. So out of the people who walked, only 4 are late. Okay, and we're saying that that is greater than the probability that people walk to school given they're late. So now we're looking at this in a different way. So let's look at everyone who's late. So let's look at this total. The late total is 36 plus 20 plus 4. And then now whoever walked out of this group is 4. And now we're asking, is 4 over 22 greater than 4 over 30? And that would be yes. And if you're a little fuzzy with fractions, you can also always check and divide. 4 divided by 22 is 0.18. And we're saying that's greater than 4 divided by 30, 0.13. So this works out. So choice number 1 is our answer. And if you look at the other choices, it's the probability of being late. So they're all the same probabilities. And we're just asking to compare which is greater or if they're equal. And choice number 1 is the right answer. Question 19. F of x is equal to the cubed root of x plus 4. Then the inverse of x is equal to what? So here there's a rule for finding this. So we have the cubed root of x plus 4 is equal to y. They have f of x, but I'm just going to call it y. And the first rule is you're going to switch the x and y values. So where we have y, we're now going to put x. And where x is, we're now going to put y. And then the second thing we're going to need to do here is just solve for y, for where it is in its new place. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. And now to get rid of this cubed root, we're just going to raise this to the cubed power. So these will cancel out and we're left with x minus 4. So the third power is equal to y. So this is choice number 2. Question number 20. Given the equation s of x is equal to 1.7 sine of bx plus 12, where the period is 12, what is the value of b? So if we're given the period and we want to find b, the way to do that is b is the frequency, which they're asking us to find. And the way to find the period is usually to do 2 pi divided by the frequency. So if we don't know what the frequency is, but we're given the value of the period, this is to get the period, we always do 2 pi divided by the frequency. We know the period is equal to 12, so we could just set 2 pi over f equal to 12. And then we could just do some cross multiplying. 2f is equal to 2 pi divided by 12. And then we get f is equal to pi over 6. And this is the value of b. Pi over 6, which is choice number 1. Question 21. Jin solved the equation radical 4 minus x is equal to x plus 8 by squaring both sides. What extraneous solution did he find? So extraneous just means irrelevant, right? Irrelevant answer. So we're going to solve this and kind of look for like the solution we usually reject. And that's what's going to be the answer. So it's a little confusing if you miss this word extraneous or don't know what it means. So let's write this out. Let's solve for x as normal. So I'm going to start by squaring both sides. And then we can expand this x plus 8 squared. And now let's get everything onto one side. So let's subtract this 4 and add this x. So we'll get x squared plus 17x plus 16. And now we need to do product sum. So we have the product is 60, sum is 17. Think about what two numbers multiply to 60 and add to 17. So let's play around on our calculator and see what we find. So right away we get 5 and 12. So I'm just gonna rewrite this up here. So we have x plus 5 times x plus 12 equals 0. Where we get x equals negative 5 and x equals negative 12. So now this is where we're gonna wanna check our answers and see which one we're going to want to reject, and that's what's actually going to be the answer here. So if we do a check, we're going to plug in, let's plug in negative 5, 4 minus negative 5, negative 5 plus 8. This becomes radical 9 is equal to 3. And you can see this is going to work out. So x minus 5 does work out. X is equal to negative 12 is going to be our answer because we're going to need to reject this. And let's just check and plug this in to make sure. So you see what I'm saying. 4 minus negative 12 all under the radical. So this is going to be equal to negative 4 on the right, and on the left this will be 4. So you could see 4 is not equal to negative 4. So we're going to reject this negative 12, which is actually what they're looking for because they're looking for that extraneous solution. So choice number 2 is our answer here. Question number 22. The expression x squared plus y squared is not equivalent to what? So let's expand this first before even looking at the answer choices. We have x squared plus y squared times x squared plus y squared. So let's distribute this one at a time. So this is what this expression expands to, and that's what we're going to be looking for. That doesn't happen whenever we expand these. So again, this is one of those backwards questions. So let's look at choice number 1 and see if it expands to this. And if it does, it's not our answer. So let's do x squared minus y squared. I'm going to expand x squared minus y squared times x squared minus y squared. And then this I can just distribute. Right, 2 squared is 4. X squared, y squared. Okay. So let's distribute this again. So you could see we could actually combine like terms here. And you can see this actually does work out for choice number 1. So see how this matches this x to the 4th plus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th. So this is not our answer because it does work out. Let's try choice number 2. So this, when we have something raised to the 4th power, there's a certain formula that we can remember for expanding this. So I'm just going to write it out here because it's a lot to remember. So this ends up becoming x to the 4th plus 4x cubed y plus and then plus this we can expand over here to x squared y squared. Okay, so as you can see, we can't combine like terms anymore, and this is clearly not equal to that. And I don't think you need to know how to expand this, but if you even try, it would look nothing like this. Also, if you continue to find the other answer choices and expand those, you'll see that they all come out to this value. So we know that choice 2 is our answer. So this question is annoying. It takes a lot of time to figure out, to keep checking yourself, but 3 and 4 are also equal to this. Question 23. The height of a running trail is modeled by the coordinate function y equals f of x, shown below, where x is the distance in miles from the start of the trail and y is the height in feet relative to sea level. If this trail has a minimum height of 16 feet below sea level, so that's what this represents right here, minus 16 feet below sea level, which function could represent a running trail whose minimum height is half of the minimum height of the original trail? So if we're looking for half the minimum height, we want half of this negative 16. So we're looking to end up over here at negative 8. Let's go through these potential answers one at a time. So if we look at this Roman numeral 1, y equals f of half of x, this half of x would affect the period and the frequency, the number of cycles of this running trail, but it would not affect the height of above or below sea level. So this is not going to affect us in the right way. Let's look at this next one, f of x plus 8. So if we did negative 16 plus 8, the minimum plus 8, it would get us to this baseline of minus 8. So this one makes sense. So choice 2 will be in our answer, but let's also check for maybe choice 3 will work out also. So y equals half of f of x. So if we're assuming the amplitude is equal to minus 16, and then we're halving it, it would divide it by 2 and give us negative 8. So this also would work out. So choices 2 and 3 are correct, which is choice number 4. Question 24. The crew aboard a small fishing boat caught 350 pounds of fish on Monday. From that Monday through the end of the week on Friday, the weight of the fish caught increased 15% per day. The total weight in pounds of fish caught is approximately what? So we can actually, so there's different ways to solve this. I'll show both ways. So we could do this one at a time by showing the day of the week. So we have Monday through the end of the week on Friday. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and it caught 350 pounds on Monday, and then increased 15% per day. So we're going to multiply 350 times 1.15, and we get 402.5, and we're going to keep doing this. So now we're going to multiply 402.5 times 1.15. And we're going to do this all the way down to Friday. And now what we're going to do, they wanted the total weight of the whole week. How many, so remember these are all in pounds. and then this is the day of the week. So what we're going to do is add them all up. So we have 612 that we just found, plus 532. And we get this number about 2360. So the answer is choice number 4. So this was like the long way of doing it, but you can also use the sum of geometric series formula, which would give us the same thing, where it'd be a sub 1, the first term, minus a sub 1 times 1 plus r raised to the n, all over 1 minus 1 plus r. So if we plug in all the information, we know that the first term is 350, right? That was what we started with, 350 minus 350 times the rate, which is going to be 1 plus 1, 5, because we're adding 15% per day. So we're adding 1 plus 15%. And then we're doing this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So n is equal to 5 number of days. And then this is all over 1 minus 1.15. And if you plug this in, you're going to get the same thing. So let's just do that really fast. And you see that we end up getting about the same thing, 2359, so about 2360. So these check out. And that's our answer. So this is the end of part 1. Look out for part 2 coming out soon. Good luck and happy calculating.
Need more practice? Check out MathSux.org for more questions. Link below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Happy calculating!